Hello everyone, my name is Lucas Simões and this is the Clean Architecture channel. Here I discuss solution architecture, software engineer, development best practices, and digital transformation. Today's video, I'm going to show how to connect your GitHub Actions to your AWS account. The first step is to create an identity provider for GitHub using OpenID Connect. Next, we'll create a role with necessary permissions to perform our actions. If you'd like a video explaining OpenID Connect and OAuth, just let me know in the comments. Now, moving on to GitHub, we'll create a workflow, grant it the required permissions, and finally, add a step to call the STS assume role. Okay, let's start in AWS console. The first thing is click in IAM service. And after the page loads, in the left side, you, you should click in Identity Providers and in Add Provider button. After the page loads, select OpenID Connect protocol, fill provider URL and the audience. Clicking Add Provider again, and great, you got your identity provider. The next thing that we need to do is link a role to this identity provider. To do that, click on provider, and once the screen loads, select assign role. Select create a new role and next. And now we are going to create a trusted entity. A trusted entity is an object from outside your AWS account, okay? Which is allowed to gain access to a resource within your account. Select the audience and fill the GitHub organization field. It's recommended to specify the repository and the branch, but for this example, I will leave them blank. In the next page, you need to choose the policy to assign to the trusted entity. It's a good idea create your own policy, okay? Only with the necessary access that you need to grant to the pipeline. But for this example, I will use AWS Managed Policy. Click on Next, give the role a name, and double check if the principal, the audience, and subject in the policy are correct. Now let's create a workflow to test our identity provider. I've created a public repository for you to follow my code. I will clone the repository and open the VS Code. GitHub workflows must be created inside the .github/workflows directory at the root of your repository. With the YAML file created, we'll give a name for this workflow, for instance, workflow test integration, and then we'll specify which event will trigger the workflow. In this example, I'm using the push action inside the branch main. To run this workflow, we need to give permissions for GitHub OpenID Connect provider to generate JWT token in each run. And to do that, set the parameter ID token equal write. And keep in mind, the setting doesn't grant write access to any resource in AWS. It only allows fetching and setting OIDC token for an action. If you want to reuse this JWT token across all your jobs in your workflow, you will need to set the parameter contents equal read. Now I'm creating the jobs for this workflow. The first step is to clone the repository. Then I will install the AWS CLI in the GitHub Runner. Next, we need to configure the workflow to assume the role we set up for the identity provider. And finally, we'll add a simple command to list all buckets in my AWS account. Once you've pushed this change to your repository, head over to GitHub Actions to check the execution. As you can see, the workflow just ran, and in the logs, you can view all the steps. And that's it for today. In the next video, I will show how to create a pipeline and use Terraform to provision resource in AWS. Stay tuned, and I will see you next time.